Successfully controlling mice inside depends on locating and sealing entry points outside. This is liquid exterminating specialty. Before setting traps, an interior inspection should be performed, especially in the basement and attic. This will locate areas of activity where traps should be placed. You can use the best mouse traps available, but they won't work if you place them incorrectly. This is also a benefit of hiring our mouse exterminators. These are the most common traps we see inside of homes. We do not recommend these traps. Adult mice rarely get caught in glue traps, especially these ones that mice have to step onto a tray to get caught. And container traps, they're less effective than snap traps. If you're watching this to find the best mouse trap, these three, they're not it. Mice prefer snap traps where the bait is more readily accessible. A popular choice among consumers is the container trap. They can catch mice when placed correctly. The benefit is that you don't have to see or handle the caught mice. The drawback is that they don't catch many mice. We've tested several versions of these traps and they proved ineffective. The best mouse trap achieves a high kill rate while minimizing contamination and mouse handling. These contain and kill traps do not have high enough of a catch rate to be recommended. Let's touch upon the best-selling mouse traps according to our online searches. Glue traps. Adult mice have sensory hairs that alert them to avoid stepping on sticky surfaces. As a result, you usually only catch juvenile mice. According to one of our textbooks, glue traps have a catch rate of approximately 30%. If you choose a glue trap, then use flat ones that lie flush with the ground, not the glue in a shallow tray. The primary benefit is catching juvenile mice, which are not typically caught by other traps. In conclusion, they help retrieve small mice, but don't rely on them, even though they are popular. If you are trying to be humane, then look elsewhere. Moving from worst to first, the most effective mouse traps are wooden break-back snap traps. Our textbooks also recommend these expanded trigger traps over other mouse traps. They have the best trap rate, the least cost, incredible versatility, and a low profile. Notice the old style Victor break-back mouse traps. It has the classic logo on the trap. These were our favorite mouse traps by far. Recently, though, they released a new version. You can tell because of the mouse ears and the logo were removed. This latest version is janky. They rarely stay set. Many of them need to be adjusted with pliers to work. Stock up if you can find the older version. Otherwise, we recommend switching to the Catchmaster professional wooden snap traps. Many people don't set mouse traps correctly. A small amount of bait is all that is needed. If you're using the old style metal pedal traps, we recommend applying a small amount of paste bait or peanut butter and hooking a raisin to the trigger. Your catch rate goes up if they have to work for it. For expanded trigger traps, we bait with Lithatech no-tox soft bait or Pro Pest lures. Don't use cheese. Some Jif or Skippy Creamy peanut butter is generally a good bait for homeowners. Another benefit of wooden snap traps is that you can secure them with Hercules putty. Instead of using the contain and kill traps, there are options to cover the more effective breakback traps. We utilize trap right boxes when setting mouse traps inside living spaces. The downside is that you have to buy a big box of them, which isn't practical for homeowners. Alternatively, you can place snap traps inside paper lunch bags. This contains the caught mice and is more effective than the store-bought container traps. There are newer plastic snap traps as well. Some are less humane suffocation traps, with a few being the breakback traps. The benefit of the plastic snap traps is the ease of setting and resetting. Based on what we see online, Tomcat press and set mousetraps are touted as the best mousetraps available. It has a reasonable catch rate and is easier to bait, set, and maintain than wooden snap traps. If you feel unsafe setting wooden snap traps, then this should be your best option. As professionals, our favorite plastic snap traps are the T-Rex and the Ness Snappy trap. Covering traps keeps your surfaces free from blood and contamination. They can increase safety around children and pets. But your catch rate is reduced, and reusing some of the covered traps can increase your exposure by handling contaminated parts of the trap. We like the trap right boxes and the paper bag trick because you toss the entire box or bag. You don't have to expose yourself trying to release the mouse from the snap trap. This is the Decon covered snap trap. It is easy to release a caught mouse. However, the trap doesn't usually reset by pressing on the back like it's supposed to. Then you have to handle the contaminated section of the trap to reset it. It's a shame since they have such a good catch rate. The Jaws covered mouse trap is easier to set and reset, but we recommend them more for chipmunks. Sometimes mice are too light to trigger these traps, which is a common problem with the plastic snap traps. The Doom box has a high catch rate, but the case is difficult to open and too expensive to discard after a single use. I don't really like snapping open a case of dead mouse funk just to empty it. The Nest Snappy cover is another good option to keep traps and mice out of sight and protected from children and pets. The traps work well and the box is more secure than the options just mentioned. It is probably the easiest to clean too. Electrocution traps are not easy to clean. The downside is the risk of contamination exposure during trap emptying. One could argue that it is the most humane mousetrap. I personally don't like opening items with a dead mouse inside. I feel like it jolts dead mouse particles into my air. Then you have to shake it out in the garbage. Sometimes it gets gross in the traps with carcass juice and fur chunks. I'd rather just throw the trap or container out, but those are such expensive traps, it's not worth it. This is another covered trap from Victor that might be discontinued by now. We use them inside drawers. In summary, we prefer wooden snap traps in the TrapRite boxes or in paper bags. It reduces exposure to captured mice and contaminants. It's inexpensive and effective. The next best option is the covered traps, but they increase your exposure to potential pathogens when reused. To round things out, we will review some of the additional traps on the market. Live traps should be monitored every couple of hours to ensure healthy mice are released. Sadly, not many people check these traps regularly enough. As a result, we find these traps to be the least humane and expose the person to the most potential contaminants and pathogens, especially if you're placing the trap in your car to move the mouse somewhere else. Mice often set off these tip-style traps without being caught. Mice don't retain body heat very well. They may have heart attacks or be highly stressed by the time you find them in a live trap. Those are single catch live traps. These are multiple catch traps. We can only recommend the metal tin cat trap with a window. Once they get broken in, you can catch a large number of mice overnight. You can place a glue trap in it to make it easier to remove caught mice. But you want this trap to get seasoned with a mousy odor, so it might be best to skip the glue trap initially. It lures multiple mice into it because it gets seasoned with the smell of many mice. We don't recommend the plastic version. We were disappointed when we tried this Nest catch-all trap. It is a curiosity trap. The mice are going to enter the hole and get pushed into the holding area. When we tried this trap, mice would get stuck in the part that pushes the mice. It was like your printer constantly getting paper jams. As a result, we can't recommend them. Another trap is the Andro lasso trap. Simply put, there are better options. And finally, the bucket trap. Keep in mind that mice don't usually go run on basement floors, and that's usually where you would put it inside a house. And larger animals can knock down the buckets outside. It might catch a lot of mice in a shed or barn, which is great. But then what? Most people drown them, which is not a legal form of euthanization in Ohio. Otherwise, it involves a lot of handling of caught rodents. A lot of people use the bucket trap for chipmunks outside. For mice, I'd rather set 10 or so wooden snap traps. Always remember there's a lot more that goes into mouse control than deciding what kind of mouse trap to buy. For long-term control, you have to repair the entry points outside.